Well, hello, welcome everybody. Emily Morgan here with Delegate. Today we're talking with Marc Dispensa. Welcome, Marc.
Hello.
You're up in Red Bank, New Jersey today. I'm down in South Jersey today. We are chatting about AI. And Marc, if you don't know him, is our incredible EOS implementer. Thank you, Marc, for that. And he also owns a company called Lucy AI that handles a lot of with artificial intelligence. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about how small businesses can and should be using AI. But a little bit about Marc. He's a lifelong entrepreneur. He began his first company at the age of 21 and helped build it to $4 million in revenue before selling to a publicly traded company. He's had a 3-year journey as a CTO, which taught him a lot about what not to do as a business leader. And he learned that he's a small company guy who loves to start businesses. Awesome. He was first introduced to EOS when he joined a competitor and they were implementing EOS. And what started as a $4 million company actually grew into a $50 million company in 4 years. That's incredible. You'll have to share a little bit about that. And since then, Marc's become a professional EOS implementer with the goal of helping others realize their own vision for their companies. So amazing, and welcome to you.
Thank you.
So obviously we have lots to talk about with EOS because we both love it and it's so transformational. But today, to get us started at least, let's talk a little bit about AI. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing with artificial intelligence right now?
Sure. So I think, AI up until a few years ago was used mainly in experiments and tests. You've probably seen some of it now working its way into your house with some audio devices, some visual devices. I think what's happened now is we're in the curve where a lot of the technology is working its way into everything. So you think about vision, right? The ability to identify objects, audio, the ability for the systems to understand your verbal speech and know how to convert it into something. And you start to hear about systems understanding how to play games and be learning systems. And really, those are probably the mega size trends at a big level, and some of the things that you can buy from Google and Amazon and some of the other guys. Those are the big ones. And what you're actually starting to see is chatbots get smarter, right? So a lot of the things when you go on a website, you may see, hey, would you like some help? And if you type in some terms, they may be much smarter there. So you're seeing that sort of leak into the market.
Yeah, and we were joking earlier, speaking of terms, that virtual assistant, which is the industry that I'm in, is now like being infringed upon by, say, Alexa, for example, who's now calling themselves a virtual assistant.
And that's actually a good one. And I think the irony there is if you have an Alexa or a Siri or I forget some of the other ones, but there's a bunch of the gadgets out there that do that work. They're really still early stage. Amazon's probably one of the better ones where if you say, hey, Alexa, it's got a good shot of answering the question, but there's really not a lot of follow-up. So you're still in that generation of ask a question, get a response, or put something on my calendar, but we're still, I think 5 to 10 years away from the systems being a little smarter, where they'll say, hey, you can't schedule this because you have this, or X, Y, or Z. I think that's sort of the next generation, but it'll be impossible to replace people for what they do.
So like a if this, then that type thing we're not there yet. Yeah.
We're not there yet. That's what'll come next. And they'll start building in the types of technology where it can look at things and make some determination.
So what do you guys do at Lucy AI, for example, and how is that relevant to small business?
Sure. So Lucy is an AI knowledge management platform, which sounds like a bunch of fancy words put together. But Lucy is designed to take documents within a company, be able to read them, understand what's in them. So think about, you have Google Drive, you have Dropbox, you have all these places where all these different documents are sitting, right? Even at a company that's maybe 10 to 200 people, and you have audio and video files. Well, imagine if you could just say, connect to these 4 or 5 places and ask a question. And rather than getting just a list of documents, you actually are able to get to the answer or to the video in the specific area of the video. So think of it as Google, your own version of Google inside of your documents, inside of your data, because you don't want to expose that to the public internet.
That's It's really cool. So how are small businesses using Lucy, for example?
Sure. So some of the smaller clients within there. So we've got companies as big as actually I have to be careful with that one. We've got some Fortune 5 companies in there, and we've got lots of small companies in there. And what they're doing is they're using it as an engine to consolidate their information. Right? They're using it to actually go. One example is we have a finance company that has all these different areas where they have legal documents. And so what they're doing is they're saying, hey, I need to look for where this has come up. And immediately, rather than it just saying it's in these places, it'll show that exact area. Another big one is with videos. There's terabytes of just videos. They want to know in their commercials, where is the specific element? And so the AI is able to identify, I know the topic. It's not just the words or the phrase. It's, I understand what you're asking for. And now I know that's also over here. So there's a bit of fuzzy logic. It's not just keyword matching.
Crazy. So is it like a subscription model or it's a project model? How are you selling the
So it's
service?
subscription. So it's a SaaS-based model, and it's charged on a monthly basis, like most companies now. And so it's of the mind of, usually it's about a year, but sometimes we do month to month. And it's built with the intention of, if you don't find value, don't continue to use it. So there's a large element of, why would you continue to use something if it doesn't deliver value? So that's why we believe in the model.
Cool. And so when it comes to AI in general, like what are things that are out there that maybe we're not smart enough for that, or AI is not smart enough for that yet? So like MySpace, for example, is a big one because, I know there's a lot of infringement around task level delegation, around scheduling and automations and stuff like that. But I still think that there's a value that we bring that technology can never replace, nor should it. And so, like, what are you seeing out there trend-wise that might be along those lines that people should be aware of maybe for their industries? Like, what's in development?
So I could say there are little utilities that can certainly help with your calendars and things like that. They're definitely nowhere near actually having help with it. So those they're little tools that can say, hey, make sure I schedule my Peloton ride or things like that. And they're actually more beneficial on the personal side. So like if you're trying to make sure you eat right, or you eat at a certain time of day, or make sure you have your water at certain times of day. So there's like a lot of little utilities like that. And they're pretty smart. They can look at your calendar and insert things, but that's the extent. I think where you're going to see a lot of the biggest benefit to AI is behind the scenes. So QuickBooks, for example. QuickBooks, as you start to enter your data into the system, can start to predict, right? So this is where you hear a lot of catchy terms, machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so machine learning is just the ability for the system, when you give it data and you tell it what to look for, it gets better at finding that for you. So let's say, for example, you're a small business and inside of QuickBooks, you're loading all your bills, your elements, and it could tell you actually, hey, you're going to have, based on your patterns, you're going to have this much money in this many months. You may want to consider you putting that capital to work. So if you think about it, right, a lot of entrepreneurs, me included, aren't very good at forecasting capital. And usually your accountants might do it for you and you have to pay somebody. But in this case, let's say you're a business generating $3-4 million of revenue. If you see that curve, it'll help you understand, hey, these are the months when you can go out there, hire that consultant, do those things. So it really becomes like a prediction engine. Retail. So you think about if you're stocking shelves, right? What are my inventory levels? So you have big companies like, because of what's going on in the world, a lot of them are going out of business. But when you think about stores and having the right store, what's on your store shelves, what should you stock? You might be a small shop, like a bridal company or a local store. Maybe you have 3 or 4 stores as chains. How do you know what your inventory should be? And most of the time, you're just using legacy data. You might pay somebody to come up with those insights. Well, a lot of the technology can now tell you where and when and how you should stock your inventory. So there are systems already online. They're already starting to do it. And actually, if you're in the marketplace for that, I suggest that you look for those things. So look for in your financial software, see if there's predictable machine learning in it. If you're looking at new retail software, take a look and see what are they doing to actually give you automation capabilities beyond what you're currently looking at.
So cool. So are you saying that already exists in QuickBooks, or this is like new that's coming out?
It's there. It's in beta.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Cool.
you can use it. You can play around with it.
Very cool. So let's talk EOS a little bit. We'd be remiss without talking about that. Who do you typically work with? I mean, we're a client, but what's your ideal client look like for impact?
My ideal, so EOS's target market is 10 to 250 employees. Small businesses, entrepreneurial led. I would say my core focus tends to be more on the smaller side. I like working with high growth companies, and locally, I like working in the New York, New Jersey area. But there's also EOSIs everywhere, right? I think globally. But my fit is definitely growth orientated, smaller size companies.
And can you share maybe a story? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Can you share a transformation story maybe of company that you've worked with that has seen amazing results from EOS?
That is putting me on the spot, and I can't use my own, right? That would be cheating.
Or maybe a tool that really made an impact.
I would actually I'll use something from yesterday. So I'll use something really recent. Awesome company. They're based in New Jersey and South Jersey. They're a printing company. And they're at about $10 million now. They'll probably be, they're going to be a $40, $50 million company in 10 years. And one of the things was they were looking at their 10-year target and who do they want to be? And we struggled with, they were looking at the dollars, right? They were saying, yeah, we know we're going to be 40 million, but it doesn't drive us. It doesn't really embolden where we're going to go. And so for them, it turned into this, we want to be the B&H of print. Is actually exactly how the guy said it. And I said, okay, well, and everybody in the room kind of got invigorated by it. And so within minutes of leaving that room, they agreed to it. They put it down on paper. They left. They shouted out to everybody, and people were circling around, knocking on the door, congratulating them. And while that may not be something that everyone would get because of where they are and what they do, everyone loved it. Everyone got it. And it was a transformational moment where you saw them go from, yeah, we get it. The money's going to drive us, but it's not what we care about, to it emboldened everybody. It got them engaged. It gave them that fire, that passion. And that's what sort of, when I would say transformational, there's long-term, and I could point at a few of those, but to see that in the moment, when you see it click, for me, that's what it's about. Seeing an entrepreneur in the moment have a moment of change that's going to drive them and pull them through. That was a big thing.
Oh my God. And a printing company. So that's really exciting. And you were in South Jersey and we didn't see each other.
I'm sorry. It was south. It was it was south. It wasn't far enough south, but it was past where I am now in Red Bank.
Oh, well, I'm pretty far south in Philly, right outside Philly. Next time. I love that story. And like we struggle with the same, as you've seen, like really just being motivated by the money. So we've always translated it to hours saved. So we take our revenue goal and we say, by 2028, we will have freed up 1.4 million hours for entrepreneurs. So like we've been able to take that statement and take the revenue out of it and attribute it to impact in that way. So.
And it helps drive people in a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I would actually say, to throw AI in it, just to pepper the two together, one of the things we're seeing is small businesses using scorecards. So how do we take data from scorecards, apply it to a specific slice of business? So for example, software as a service, right? A business I'm in, most of the businesses, doesn't matter if you're selling Lucy or you're selling QuickBooks or whatever, have a specific type of metric. And so what we're starting to do is create indexes where it says, if you're trying to achieve these things, what should happen here? And the system can use your data based on those indexes to predict what you should be doing. So as an entrepreneur, what advice can this data and the systems give me? And within EOS, we have our scorecards. And so those scorecards, using index benchmarks against everybody else, can help use the learnings to influence it going forward.
Cool. And are you saying Lucy does that, or that's just out there?
So that's something Lucy doesn't do that yet, but that's something that I'm trying to convince Mark and some of the others to maybe utilize from an AI engine point of view.
Cool. Love it. And that's creating value for your clients too, which is really even better. Awesome. So we know about Lucy. What's the name of your, so that's lucy.ai. What's the name of your EOS practice and how do people find you there?
Okay. So the name of my EOS practice is Magnetive. So if you go to magnetive.com, on there, you'll see me, my bio, my pictures, and I also work with the guys over at O4G. So Ben Berman, we're hooked up over there, but mine is Magnetive.
Okay.
and it's magnetive.com.
Awesome. And anything cool you're working on that you'd like to share? Any new projects, personal, professional?
Oh, that's a good one. I wasn't prepped for that at
I
all.
know, I know you've been hitting
Pet
the gym a
projects.
lot.
What's that?
I know you've been hitting the gym a lot.
I have. I don't know if it's helping, but I'm definitely hitting the gym a lot.
Yeah.
Pet projects. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the indexing side. So I will say I'm passionate about literacy. So I have a nonprofit, literacymatters.org.
Oh.
It uses all that AI stuff I was talking about. So handwriting recognition, audio detection, phonomic detection, if I said that right. So the ability for phonemes. It's a application for kids 3rd through 8th grade. No, sorry, K through 3. And it really helps with specifically dyslexia, dysgraphia, et cetera. And we took the tech that we built from Lucy and applied it to the nonprofit. So that was an important thing that we are doing and continue to do. And that's literacymatters.org.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. Thank you. Cool. Well, thank you for spending some time with us. I know you're in the middle of a session with a client, and thank you for fitting us in and sharing.
It's my pleasure.
Good
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.